covered in yarn. Sorry about that. It's January 1st, 2026. And I'm sorry about that weird gremlin voice. I am really happy for this year. Like, I'm genuinely very excited for this year. And, okay, let me focus. Because my mind is just like running faster than my mouth can speak. And I don't want to ramble because I tried to do this shot before and did not work. That's why I'm restarting, but you don't know that I'm restarting. For all you know, this could be take number 1 and it was perfect. It's actually take number 3-ish. Okay, but anyway, for those who do not know me, hi, my name is Arkita, and I am a creative person that works in the fashion industry here in New York City, and I do a lot of things. I sew clothing, I sew costumes and cosplay, I go to fantasy balls, and I also make and sell patterns. And more recently, my latest hyperfixation, which is why I've been covered in yarn, is this beauty. This is my vintage Brother KH890 knitting machine. But I'm not here to talk to you about that. I'm here to talk to you about what a year 2025 has been, how amazing 2026 is going to be, especially for me and everyone that's creative, and all the amazing hobbies and little projects we could work on. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what else there could be to talk about. So, since it's the beginning of the year, and this is my first video of the year, and my first video in about 10 months, and I will explain exactly why it's been 10 months, because I know I keep disappearing, but this time I actually had a valid reason, and it really sucks. I'm really glad that it is 2026, because I feel like I look back on 2025 and think, wow, that was such a difficult year to get through for a lot of reasons, but it was also a really fun year in terms of me learning and creating and taking on new projects, like my knitting machine, like making patterns. I just wanted to share like some really great accomplishments that I've had over the years or over this past year. And my accomplishment number 1, I would say, is learning how to machine knit. I learned knitting on a machine back in, I won't say the years, but when I was in college, around my junior or senior year, and I really wish I had taken that class seriously because it was a 101 class and you just kind of learn the basics of the machine. But now as an adult, however many years later, I'm seeing that there is so much more that I wish I could have done and taken on and learned and probably have retained in my more malleable ages. But nonetheless, I'm glad I'm learning now because it actually means a lot to me now. 1, to keep all these machines from landfills, and 2, to be able to repair something that will continue to work. And they don't even operate on electricity. They operate analogically. They operate manually. And I'll show you some examples. So like, I have this, and I love vintage knits, like this, like this, like these. I love vintage knits. I pull so many images from Pinterest, and I've been looking for a way to recreate these. But now that I have a knitting machine, I can do this without sitting there for hours and hours knitting by hand, because I actually don't know how to knit by hand. And I don't want to say I don't plan on learning, but at this point in my life, I think I've taken on enough hobbies to say that I probably won't learn that. I really like machine knitting. I like the complexities of learning to knit on a machine, and I'm very happy with it. So, that being said, I'm going to stick to this. I've got too many hobbies. I will show you this. This is really cool. Actually, I would say this is cooler, but I knit this in pink. And of course, it's like, when you want to show somebody something or something's really messing up, and then they come and it's like, I don't know, everything's fine, everything's working, or you can't find it anymore. I knit this pattern essentially without any plain stitches in between, but I knit it in this color and it shows up so much nicer in this color. And this is not the lace pattern I wanted to show you, but you can kind of see, and it's rolling. But this I did on a knitting machine, on this one behind me, and it uses a punch card. This was just me playing around with the adding plain stitches between it. Was not a fan. But it uses like a vintage old school punch card, and you put into the designs and out comes a lace or a tuck stitch or a fair isle or a skip stitch or a weave. I have not yet tried weaving on this. I have done some fair isles. I do a lot of tuck stitches just because that goes a lot faster than lace and it kind of emulates the lace, but not as complex. For example, this is a tuck stitch. Also uses a punch card. Can you see that? And this was me using the tuck stitch, but elongating it. But this is the actual knit side, as you can see. So the design is on the wrong side. And this also uses a punch card. And then this was one where I was trying to make myself a bandana, and it did not work because, as you can see, boop, that's my bandana. She's so cute. I'm just gonna unravel this yarn and use it for something else. But as you can see, I've been really enjoying learning the knitting machine. And I say that because I bought my first machine in 2020 during the pandemic, and I never got around to learning to use it. And every year it just kept taking up more space and taking up more space. And it was just, I think I got to the year 2025 and it was just like, if I'm going to learn this, I think it's better for me to learn it in person and have someone walk me through this before I try doing it on my own. Because you know what? It was a good thing I didn't just go ahead and do it on my own, because there was so much I didn't know. Like a sponge bar, which basically holds down the needles. You need that to be replaced. It does deteriorate after some time or after a lot of use. How to replace the needles, how to clean the machine. All of this I did not know how to do. I didn't even know how to cast on, how to knit, how to do anything. All of that knowledge I learned all those years ago went in and out of my brain. But at the time, I think I was more so concerned with passing so I can graduate college. So I don't think that that was the time for me to really take that on. I also was not a knitwear major. That being said, I'm glad that I'm learning this now. I'm really glad that I've taken this kind of new project on. And part of the reason why is, like I said, I love vintage knits. And one of my goals is to make myself a fully knit outfit for the Easter parade this year. So, oops. We will see how that goes. I'm going to need to get started and go looking for more yarn. And one of the best places that I have been finding yarn, I did buy yarn. I bought yarn on eBay recently, but Facebook Marketplace. People are always selling cone yarn on Facebook Marketplace. I also have gotten a lot of things on Facebook Marketplace, like my vintage lamp that I trekked through a snowstorm. And I know it snowed today, but the last snowstorm we had, I trekked through to the other side of Brooklyn, the other side of the city, to get this so I could bring it home on a bus. So, Facebook Marketplace, that's all I can say. That being said, machine knitting was one of my accomplishments. I would say my other accomplishment is really taking on pattern making in a more personal way and in a more individual way, as opposed to doing it for anywhere that I've worked. And again, for anyone who isn't super familiar, I have worked in the industry for many years now. I've worked on both the design side and the technical design side, and I found that I much prefer working on the technical design side. And it's not because I don't love designing. I think it's because I love designing that's kind of the easiest part. It's then the making, the construction, the patterning. Those are the really hard parts of the design, and that's kind of where I come in and work on the fit and the corrections and looking at the patterns, looking at the construction, looking at the materials, and seeing how all of that can come together. And I love that, which is why I have relaunched my business, Classy Rebel Design, and have been selling patterns. And part of the reason why I couldn't continue to sell my patterns this year, and also another reason why I couldn't continue to record my videos this year, is because my laptop finally died. Yeah. It just was not working. It was really bad. The entire bottom two rows of keys weren't working. Actually, those stopped working like 2 years after. Like, I literally had my laptop warranty for a year. I think 6 months after the warranty, it was just like, nope. And they're like, well, you have to rebuy this really expensive. It was just such much ado. So I was like, I'm just going to plug in a keyboard. Plugged in the keyboard. Keyboard was fine. Plug in a mouse. Mouse is fine. But then the systems that I run, being Adobe, being 3D software, all of that, my laptop was simply just not powerful enough to handle anything. It honestly sounded like I was in a wind turbine whenever I turned on my computer. So I think it was just best to let it go. And I know it's like, oh, well, not your laptop wasn't working. It's kind of an excuse. You have phones. I do try to compartmentalize my life and the amount of technology I allow into my life. So it's already hard to be addicted to your phone. Like, and I'm gonna be honest, there are times when it's like the screen time is so addicting. You really get into the what's it called? Like the randomness of not knowing what's going to come next. So you're just stuck scrolling, scrolling, scrolling. And I didn't want to feel like, oh my gosh, I'm on my phone all the time. I'm recording on my phone. I'm editing on my phone. I'm just sitting on my phone. I'm taking pictures on my phone. Like, it just felt like there has to be a separation of technology. Not everything has to be on this one device, and this one device is actually quite dangerous. So I said, you know what? We'll pause. And then you want to know the worst thing? The worst thing was that I honestly pre-record so many videos. I had so many videos pre-recorded, like when I made my dress for the first fantasy ball I went to, the second fantasy ball I went to, um, but my computer just could not handle anything. It could barely even handle recording a video. Like, I have my video set up here and it couldn't even take that on. So I just I just had to let it go and create without recording. And it's really hard because you see everything as a potentially content, but then to have to set it all up and do all this, and it was more stress and more drain on me to make sure I captured everything than if I just created. Because if it wasn't working, then I'd get frustrated and not create. So it's just better if I just created. And I did. And I loved it. And now that it's 2026, I will be able to create more easily and more freely. So I'm really excited about that. So that being said, that was one of my biggest issues as to why I was not able to be more frequently posting videos. Also, figuring out short form content versus long form content. I've always preferred long form content only because that's how I get captured. And I'm going to be honest, I don't know anything about short form content because art isn't short form. Creating isn't 10 seconds. Creating takes hours and hours. So to be able to pick and choose which clips of what part is more important than something else or the final garment to show people, it's just, I feel like it does a disservice to real artisans or artists in any medium to be able to show you exactly how much time and effort and hours go into things. But I'll work on that. I will. 2025 was an interesting year, to say the least, but I am proud of myself for making patterns and making more patterns. I have lots of patterns that I've got that I'm working on that I'm going to need some testers soon. Very soon, probably by the end of the month. But yes, I have lots of patterns that I'm working on, and I have them set up into like quarters for the year. Like, I've got all my goals set up for quarters in the year, and one of those goals is definitely going to be to post more videos, but not only that, to release more patterns. That being said, I'm really happy with how things have turned out. Oh, yes. Yes. The reason why I am recording and able to post videos is because I did get a new laptop. I cannot pick this laptop up because it's connected to my camera and my camera cord is too short. Whatever I was using before was terrible. I also love it that I have like a full keyboard, because they're making all these keyboards now where your up and down keys are split in half. Like it's like one whole key is then two keys for the up and down. I can't stand that. Just give us a regular up and down. Just want a normal size button, not a mini button. I also like my laptops to have a whole number pad on it, which it didn't have before. And when I downgraded to something that didn't have a number pad, it was very upsetting. So now that I have that, I have the perfect laptop. I'm not buying a new laptop for many years. This is it. We're done. You're not getting anything new. But that being said, I do want to do a quick recap of the year. Oops. So, recap of 2025. I definitely learned how to use my knitting machine. It's great. I bought all this yarn. All of it, almost all of it, I would say, except for 4 rolls, were purchased secondhand. Facebook Marketplace. You can get a really good deal. Even if you have a local Buy Nothing group, because I think that's where I got most of them, was my local Buy Nothing group. Lots of yarns. And I got really lucky with that one because someone else had a knitting machine in that group. But learning to use my knitting machine, making my first pattern, and I'm going to need testers soon. So let me know if you're interested in sewing. Oh my gosh, I didn't even show you this. This was the vest that I made myself. It was really hard. It was a lot harder than I thought it would be. I do think I'm going to redo it. Not redo it, but I'm going to take this rib off and I'm like this armhole and I'm just going to make it a set sleeve. But I made this wool vest, so cute, so crushed, with this mock rib hem, very long, 50 rows. And she was so cute, and I wore it for the vintage holiday trains, the New York City Transit. I was really happy wearing it. And it kept me super warm because it was cold and it snowed that day. Yes, I remember I had a doctor's appointment in the morning. Go to pick up my lamp through a snowstorm. Snow melted. Got on the train. And then the train took us to Queens. But look at this yarn. I blended 2 colors to do it. So it's the brown, or no, it's a gray merino wool. And then I blended it with this very skinny green, like this very thin lace weight olive green. And it came out so nice. So yeah, I'm serious about my knitting machine. I'm really happy with this. But I am going to take this little rib off and put on a set and sleeve. I will say, like, I'm happy with it. I like this sweater. I really do. I'm happy that I've been teaching myself this. I want to say 2026 is going to be a good year. So everyone should speak that into existence because 2025 was a trying year, and so is 2024, and so are all the years before that. But every year there is still a lot of good that we can take from it, and I'm choosing to focus on that good and acknowledge the bad and see where I can go. That can be better from there. But for now, I'm focusing on the good and all the creativity that is going to come forth in 2026, especially now that I have the technology that can keep up with the systems that I use. So now that all that has been said, I really hope that everyone has a really wonderful next year or the rest of the year. I can't wait to post my next video because it's going to be really exciting. So once again, thank you so much for listening to my 2025 ramble. I'm sure there was more things I could have said, but you know, not everything needs to be said. Some things can just be left up to the imagination. I really appreciate your support over the years and continuing to watch my videos, as inconsistent as they can be, but I really do appreciate that. And I look forward to this year. So thank you again for watching. Definitely like this video, leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe so you can get updates as to when the next videos come out. Have a happy new year. Bye.